Yo, what's up? What's up, everybody? How's it going? It's Either that still back at it again on another different types of wave. You know how it is. It's about to be a quick story time. I'm just like a small image, of course. It's like 4 or 5 in the morning right now. I was just creating and stuff and working on stuff and honoring my skills and my projects and things like that and that type of sorts. But I actually came here to I guess the moral or the topic of the story is how communication kind of ruined my friendships a lot. I'm actually thinking about it like more than I think about it. It's like a quick story time with moral of how miscommunication or not communicating at all ruin friendships. This is a cut, clean, unedited video, so if you feel some type of way, like some parts you really don't want to hear or you don't really care about, you can like kind of skip it. It really don't matter. But I would say this. When I was a little younger, obviously, before I'm still in my youthly quotations prime, but men really don't hit their prime until they in their 30 to 35. So I have a lot of life to live, hopefully by the grace of the Father. But I've just been brought speaking here today to about a couple years back and from my youth. Had a couple of online friends per se, or even years back had a couple of schoolmates. I would say I said mates like I'm from United Kingdom. I'm US. What am I talking about? But anyway, back then, I guess you could say in my whole food on dilemma and everything, but it's like back then I necessarily never had a great chance to try to make the best of friendships or have best companionships that I felt were very genuine to me. But I could always laugh and giggle, but it always felt like I was in solitude at that time. And then I changed cities, etc. And then I actually started getting people who actually enjoy being around with, and it felt like that they enjoy being around me. And so, we're in middle school and things like that. So of course you're like, oh, I'm very now you can actually hear me, but that's crazy. You couldn't hear me at all. But basically, in a nutshell, like saying I'm very grateful for being around those people. I was like in 8th grade, and it was for the first time around actual people where it didn't feel like a forced friendship or like a hierarchy friendship. It actually felt genuine for that year, because I guess we're all just children, just being kids of that day. But you get into high school and people fit back in that hierarchy, and it's like, oh shit, like back again in this hierarchy thing. And so you feel alone again, and then you go your path because you already know the whole hierarchy thing and this, that, and the third. It was actually one time when I was in I'll never forget. I was it was summer football practice, right? And wasn't that tall of a person, wasn't that big of a person, but I didn't take no mess basically. Like I was very hard-headed, and I was very very stubborn. So anytime this felt like it was like conflict or some sort of unnecessary thing, notice like I wouldn't necessarily back down, because of my past of having to fight through I think I had to fight around what 6th grade, 5th grade to 7th grade basically. At the end it was like I was fighting every week or fighting every month, because growing up in a not so good neighborhood in Chicago, it has you scrapping, has you duking out and stuff, and then a lot of people has been dying around that area. So we're speaking about 2013, 14, 15, things like that. So if you know about Chicago and that type of area, the type of environment it was. But all that goes to say, in short, fights have come to make me stubborn or hard-headed. Well, I don't take no mess. And I'll never forget, it was the upperclassmen of the football team, right? So how they always try to test the freshmen, right? If you never been played a part of a football team or whatever, or a certain type of team, it always seems like it was a hierarchy thing, right? And it was like, okay, I'm not that big of a guy, and I was very slim, I would say. I was not really skinny, but you could deem to be oh, okay, I'm really slim. So in that sort of me being really slim, right, and small, I was like 5'4" as a freshman. 5'5". I was small. I was not that big of a kid. I was telling people I was 5'6", but like, I was like 5'5", 5'5". I wasn't that big. I'm still not a big of a guy either, but like I'm not that small. But in that sort, the upperclassmen is like, oh my gosh, look, it's a freshman and everything. You could hear them thoughts. Like, they didn't specifically say that, but you can hear their thoughts in their head. And I'll never forget, when the freshmen arrive on the football field, all the upperclassmen who was playing around, they all stop the practice. They start surrounding freshmen, and then all the upperclassmen start surrounding me. Try to act like intimidation. You try to punk, trying to punk freshmen and everything, try to see who tough, who really about it, who not. It's a couple I agree, but not knowing I'm not from here. I'm not actually from the city. I just, surround myself around certain types of people to stay away from certain types of ignorance, because I already knew those people was ignorant. They surrounded me, and I was like, I ain't scared. So I already knew what was up. So I'm talking, they talking back. You know what I'm saying? We making jokes here and there, whatever, etc., etc. You know what I'm saying? But they like, all right, you cool. Like, he not really on like no bull type stuff and everything. But you still a freshman type stuff. But gained a little respect that day. But then I was concerned because it felt like I was by myself with my homies. All of them, my supposed homies, was sitting on the sideline watching all this happen. And I'll never forget, I was like, hey man, why didn't you help me out, my boy? It's like y'all supposed to be my dogs and everything. And you know what they said? This man said to dead in my eyes. This man looked me dead in my eyes to my face, and said, well, we can't do nothing. They're upperclassmen. It was at that point that there have no longer, our connection after that point has torn apart like this, because to my mind, it's like, if I'm getting into something and some trouble, I'm gonna be there, stuck there by myself, because they're not gonna help me. Or if some people decided to try to jump on me for any other reason, who's gonna be there to help if it was like a 1v6? Because boys love to jump back then and start messing with people back then. Niggas is not, pardon my French, but people was not helping out. And I was like, okay, here I am feeling alone again. And then I separate those people, because to me, loyalty is everything. If I give loyalty and felt like you prove your loyalty, but as soon as we step into high school, it's like our loyalty kind of separate. Like, we were still cool, like y'all was still my dogs and everything, but stopped communicating. Those certain people, they left eventually. Didn't have the backbone, I guess, to tolerate them, so they left. But I stayed on the field and stayed doing the whole football scenario. And I was like, you know what, I'll do it again. And I can't, you know what I'm saying, like I just, I came and I was like, all right, I'm doing all this type stuff and everything, you know what I'm saying? And certain situations happen where it's like, I don't back down for nothing, but it is what it is. And you get in more high school, doing more sports, start knowing more people, upperclassmen, you know what I'm saying, this, that, and third. You don't have to really worry, because people familiar with who you are right then. It's just like a male hierarchy thing that we all go through, where you fit in the puzzle. But it came to the point when I was not being surrounded by the best people and seeing things and being around things and basically being hypnotized by doing things, but we don't want to really associate that. Those are different topics for different story times, if you're interested in those. But then again, I'd say after I was doing wrestling, because I did wrestling for a while, after I did wrestling, I was like not in the best mindset, and I decided to really just stay and try to focus on myself, because I'm just I'm not in the right mindsets, really lock in basically with myself. And I was having a lot of mental issues that I should have seen and I should have talked about. And I was doing stuff just to numb and try to take away all of the stress and pain, whatever. As of course, is what other high school kids do. And I was online, and I remember meeting so-called people and everything, and being attached to people on the internet, friends doing like Discord. Yes, I was a Discord user. Yes, I still sometimes use Discord. Sometimes I do business there. But I was a chronic Discord user on a freaking internet, and being on there, just being chronically on there for like most of my days on the net, it relieved some type of stress because I felt like I genuinely had friends there, and situations happen with certain types of people of a certain type of hierarchy. I don't want to say my name because I'm a different breed now, so I'm not really on Uraj type of energy that I really was. But those people know who they are. Hey, those people were weird, buddy. Hey, certain things happen. It was really having to do with around people I was around, but it is what it is, man. We don't have no beef over out here, it's just me again. So I'm just doing my thing, but etc. with the whole friends and everything, where we had I guess mutual enemies, so we became good people with each other and became locked in, and thought, at least on the internet, we was really good friends and things like that. And then people think certain types of things because different people react to being chronically online. Apparently in my group, I was a more reckless, flirting with your girl type, supposedly, but I never took or have any evidence where I'm flirting with your girl. And that's another topic I'm gonna get to in a minute. But in that sort, I would say when it happened, right? As we get older, as time goes on, we got different things we want to try out. And we start meeting people, meeting collectives and everything. People start having crushes, and boy and girl start having crushes, and chronically online, it's like, okay. And then people start going with different exes and things like that and everything. And then, your boy's always stuck there supposedly until it comes to his issues. And then now we're having communication issues, right? So one of the dogs in the friend group, there's about 4 people. It's 1 girl, 3 guys. I was one of the 3 guys. It was cool. We was all locked in. Sometimes I used to be the butt of the joke a little bit, but it's you know what I'm saying? People like to joke on me, but it felt like they was trying to put all their anger on me. Then one of my other boys, who was supposedly my dog, I was like, hey, yo, my dog and everything. It's like, oh yeah, we cool, this, that, and the third. Man, it's apparently he would always try to keep tabs on people of what people do wrong, etc. And I feel like that was unhealthy, and that was not the best way to communicate, or how to try to communicate to people who made you feel uncomfortable situations. You should always talk about it to your friends if you feel comfortable, because nobody knows what's going through your mind or what really makes you feel uncomfortable. It's a different communication, but and the guy obviously was a little younger than me, so I understand he was going through certain situations. Everybody was going through situations. That's why we all were chronically online. But we had this thing, and it's like, when certain people and certain things has been put to our friendship to test and seem to be frail, and always miss the leap of the jump, and it's like, I guess in my end as well, I'm not saying I was perfect, but I always open the doors to try to communicate and try to if you have a situation, you feel the situation, and I specifically told him that. But the girl in the group, some triangle, octagon love triangle situation here. I could write a fucking book about that shit, put that shit in the fucking anime, but it was on a fucking chronically online. But people don't see online the same way like I see it. So, it's a lot more realer now. And that's something that I had to understood. And I didn't understood because I had both a normal life and internet life. So that's what it was. In all sorts, people start getting into other relationships, I think our friend group was really based on a lot of negative energy, a lot of miscommunication and boiled up aggression towards one another, and a lot of back talking behind each other's back and trying to communicate with each other in the best way we possibly can, because we're obviously children, kids on the net, who's been having so much time on your hands talking to people and planning stuff, and actually not just being outside and being around and actually enjoying life around each other. I feel like that would have been very essential, instead of just being on the net, But in sorts, I would say how everything ended. Supposedly these supposed friend group, I know there's stories everywhere, but bear with me. So from the internet of having mutual enemies to be good friends, and we have banter and we have mishaps and going back and forth. And I'm gonna get to the friendship of the male, then I'll get to friendship of the lady. Obviously the one other male I'm still cool with, like it's still my dog, it's still my homie and everything, but we live life, etc. But I would say with the mellow, if me and his relationship was based off a mutual enemy, basically, because we had internet being with a person who had a higher status at that time, like an extremely higher status. This nigga was known, but we had communication where we actually experienced the same thing. We actually had interest with games and actual anime, etc. But we're basically kind of the same person, but we see things in two different ways. But in a weird way, we understood each other, but we not we was basically on the same coin, but we just going in different types of ways and directions and everything, instead of two sides of the same coin. Because opposites attract. But in my eyes, there's probably certain things that I did to him that he would pick up and seem to be tolerated as disrespectful for him, which I can get. But I was not trying to disrespect him, but then he genuinely disrespected me. And I was like, if you felt disrespected, you could communicate. I'm like, now you disrespected me because you feel like you're being disrespected. And now you're pulling up trying to make old stuff, trying to hate a person. And I feel like that's not what I wanted in a friendship or any relationship forever. In any relationship, anything. And it draw the line a lot more when females came involved with us. And he felt like I was basically trying, in certain cases, Mac on his love intentions, but I wasn't. We just had similar types, so naturally speaking, spoken word happens. And when you know how to communicate, it's not like new gen call it risk, like my generation we call it risk, etc. But it's like when certain situations happen, it's like, okay, like it's Riz, or it's trying to flirt, what I'm saying, he will make jokes and compare me to certain types of people who superiorly take other girl, and I knew it was red flags, and I was always like, hey man, I want to speak about it, but he's like, I don't want to speak about it, we cool, man, how we cool, just trying to lie, just to avoid conflict, but then blows up. That's how the relationship ended. And we was talking about an artist. We was talking about David, bro. We we don't even talk about dated artistry. We just talk about the way how he has matured over the years. That's how it broke the camel's back, because we had a certain disagreement. I'm like, we can agree to disagree, and he was like, no, I don't want to. It's like either my way or the highway, you know. But you know, that just broke for all being. I got tired of being disrespected. I tried to reach out first because I was like, I still seem valued as friend, and I thought about it, and I was like, you cursing and saying, and then you call me a bitch, right? I'm a bitch. I'm like, you supposed to be my dog, but I'm a bitch to you, basically. And I was like, you gotta cut that off. So I did cut all that shit off, man. And that's how the relationship ended, because I guess he felt like I wouldn't seen it in his way, and I felt I wouldn't see it in his way, right? And I'm trying to be putting myself out the body, because I can feel some type of way, whatever, this, that, and third, but putting myself outside the situation, watching too, we're just both not so good bad communicators of our relationship and our friendship, what we really, you know, wanted from each other. And I can say, oh, well, yeah, he's just a little disrespectful because he wanted to take it at that edge, because that's just how he's raised. That's how he felt, you know. I never wanted to deem to really hurt him, but, you know, I guess me not being, vulnerable to, like, really necessarily put myself in, let's try to really hear him out completely, because I knew what I was saying. I was like, I'm not saying no bullshit to you, but I'm not necessarily wasn't hearing him out completely. And, you know, you feel some type of way because, you know, older syndrome, I guess that's something older people, but I knew it's like, okay, it's a more logical choice, but, you know, people live in different realities, right? Now, that's how that relationship ended, and now we have the biggest relationship in there of how communication kills friendships. What can I say about this person? The girl. I feel in the past life somewhere there was something, and happens to break, and then we seen each other again, and then, you know, things happen, and things concur in it. With that lady, with all due respect, you know, my relationship with her in general was very two-faced, but it was very more of like a older sibling, younger sibling type of dilemma, or like more so older, mature person. Like, you know how you like in a relationship. I never say we was in a relationship in this timeline, obviously, but you know how when you meet your ex-friend and one of you grown, or lover, one of you obviously has grown a lot more than others, it's kind of that dilemma, and she see things one way and I see things different, and we were basically night and day, basically, but we have somehow cosmically met, aligned for those moments, cosmically met. And about that person, she had great intentions for herself, but, you know, I guess in her youth and the time that I did physically known her on this plane, you know, she's somewhere else doing her thing with God knows what, but doing her thing, and didn't really see me as much. I guess I feel like she was intimidated by who I was in general. I felt like she was trying to get planting certain seeds to get back at me and everything, but to feel belittled underneath her because she see herself as a leader, but she is a leader. She's just not the leader of me, you know. And certain situations and things happen, which is like I say it's false romance, and situations concur where it's false romance and things concur, and I think it was just a little bit of our past, like a generational past, what it was, just dibble dabble just to separate. And at first I was enamored by the person, I'm not gonna lie. I thought this person was cool and genuinely, like, a lovable energy, but the more time I know the person being around, and then when it's the false love of this person, she hops around, you see who she was dealing with the other men, and how she talks about her exes, and how she talks about her friends, and the things she would say would sometimes contradict each other. But that's what creates good art and good paint, chaos. But I would say that relationship hurt me a little bit. The girl, she was, our relationship was a miscommunication of being real with ourselves and who we really want to surround ourselves. And as time went on, you speak to him trying to give certain people advice, because I was the advice guy in the whole circle who was more ahead determined. It was like you would only use me per se for certain situations, but then try to throw me away when other situations happen when we all supposed to be in this together. I will never exclude you, but maybe times I would felt to get excluded, just to feel a little better. Then that's why it's like certain things I would say it was like just to like try to get me underneath her wing and try to basically plead for her energy. But I don't plead. And I'll never forget a certain situation then when dealing with certain types of people and groups where we was thought we was cool, and then we just became uncool, and we all separated. Obviously we're still chronically online, but people decided, this when we started getting out and start building ourselves on our character, for exact side. And I'll never forget giving this Peterson advice and talking to this person through her own mental situations. I know I'm laughing, but it's kind of ironic, just thinking about this stuff, because it's so stupid, bro. Not her mental issues, obviously, but I was like, bro, like, real, like, make sure your friends call and get some help next time. Don't try to talk to them when you're not a therapist. Please don't be your friend therapist when you're young. You can only say so much. You're young, it's so silly, because I'm like, bro, we're kids trying to give each other. Nobody knows except an actual genuine person who's there to connect with you, And it's so silly. I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at myself. I'm just like, why? I'm so silly. But I feel like a fool, honestly, because it's like I feel like I played myself a little bit. But I'm more mature now and I can talk about this. But I'll never forget. I feel like I was watching the dog basically dipping and diving and you're sick, and it's bringing my vibration level down. And I was working myself. I just graduated out of high school, and I was like, bro, like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? And I was sitting there listening to this person rant about her issues and going through things very serious matter that you do need assistance and need somebody, a counselor, somebody to help you through it, And it was like I was stuck, seeing myself getting stuck in this loop, because after that she got some new mans, and I'm like, what the just happened? You just down and now you get a new man. It's like all that complaining and all that energy you was spilling out just to go back in the same circle because the dude looks just have the great same energy as the other guy. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck? And I'm like, you know what? I have to be myself and do what's good for me. And so I said, you gotta work on yourself a little more, and so much I can do. And I was like, hey, if you work on yourself on more and see you getting better, I'll still be around and every come see your progression. But if you're not working yourself, you still doing the same shit, I'm not finna be around anymore. Cause I'm not saying she was living in, the words like shit. I still gotta be careful because I know how offensive that can kind of be. Like, oh, you're still in the same shit. No, you're still in the same cycle. I'm trying to break the cycle. See? I'm trying to break the cycle, and I don't want you being in the same cycle that you still are, because I know you can be a good person, you can, you know what I'm saying, but it's one ear and out the other, and they go back then to they six, because some people love darkness sometimes. Some people love to live in darkness, and I'm like saying night and day. I'm more of like a per se sun kid. I just don't like to live in darkness. I love a little chaos, I can't lie, because, it helps me, makes my paint and my art, because I know how useful chaos is, but to be engulfed in the flames of it, I know it can lead to death, or you're not doing nothing with yourself, and always being stuck in a loop forever, and I wasn't like that. I love to grow and experience new things, but, I feel like in ways me just dropping that stuff, obviously, I could communicate a little bit more. Like, I'm just gonna not be around, we can still per se, like, hey, I'm just not gonna be around, I'm gonna do my own thing, but I wish you the best, and I'm gonna just go because it's killing my spirit. I could communicate like that instead of like, oh, you get this and you get that. But that was how I felt at that time, and I could just had a great communication about our relationship and how it's making me feel, and it is destroying me. And I know you're going through stuff and you need help, but I just can't be there for you because I need help myself. That would be something I would explain to her to the best of my abilities, so I don't have to go our separate ways, But what happened, and I blocked the person on everything because I was like, get rid of the bad energy. I don't want none of that nigga shit. And I ain't gonna lie, I feel a lot better, and my health started getting a lot better. I started to look better, you know what I'm saying? I started to talk better. I started to hit the gym and stuff, and start, working on myself and working more on my creativity. And I love that because it brought me so much strength, And now, when you end it like that, it's like a goodbye, fellow my own friend, Till we get on better paths and talk stuff out like actually genuine adults, we probably won't ever bump or see each other again. Ever. And time passed a lot, It's ironic talking about this because I feel like they're trying to get more into my energy again. But it's still the same thing. I don't think things changed that much, I could be wrong, but I'm letting my heart with God and my spirit with God, because I don't think things changed that much. But one of the last things I hear was words of Marth was from other people, is that she seen me leaving her was being her evil person, and I wasn't really a real friend with her at all. And it hurt a little bit, and I can see why she see it that way, especially when you just disappear like that. But that's where that whole miscommunication thing is coming from a close. And apparently she's saying, oh, he'll just come back in like a couple of weeks. You didn't really mean it, because I guess what we had going on, she felt like I needed her. And that hurt me too, because I feel like I couldn't do things without you, because you're the leader, you know. Instead of seeing me as an actual friend, somebody you can try to force and be around with. That wasn't me. That was never me. I'm a leader on my own, but we can be cool people, right? I see you as a person, but things don't go that way. Obviously, her perspective is a lot different than mine, but I'm talking the best unbiased abilities. I guess you can call it a heartbreak at first sight. Ironic, but that's my short time story. It's actually a really long video. I was trying to keep it on 20 minutes, but it's like 40 minutes. It's like an hour long, half an hour long conversation of just me conversating, just getting all my stuff, because I feel like getting all the bad energy out today. I'd say what I learned for those relationships per se was having to communicate what it is with any relationships with your people. That good communication is very important with anything, and when it's time to go, it's just time to go. And it's okay to let go. And not everybody's gonna take the ending of relationships and things very, very greatly, and you gotta be okay with that. As long as you keep moving forward, you always pray for those people and hope that they do. I truly, duly hope that they are good in whatever they're going, even though it's not where I want to be or what I want to surround myself now, and what my dreams are now. I still wish them the best, because you don't want to still see people die and stuff, or hurting bad, but if they see you in this and we're seeing this, I'm talking about you. I hope you're doing good, hope you're doing somewhere out there in your life, improving yourself and give yourself the time and energy that you need to really nourish your own spirit and be yourself to the fullest extent, no matter what I say. It's always the relationship between you and God, Father. And always make sure you pray. I know I do. Anyway, fellow friends, thank you for my story time. I know this is a pretty long video than I actually have, but something I felt like sharing, so I just sporadically just talk, because I just wanted to talk to you, and so I'm gonna get my thoughts out, because why not talk to and have conversation with my friends in this community space. So thank you for listening. As always, thank you for watching. I love you. I hope you're doing well, feeling yourself good. And I was trying to not describe myself in the story, but look at my Cali hat. I want to go to LA sometime, do business in LA soon. I want to do movies and stuff, and I always focus on my true artistry. And I hope this conversation of me talking is preparing me to certain roles or things and journeys that the Father has prepared for me. Because I'm not scared to open up the camera anymore. I used to be a little shy and just be talking, but now I can just truly be myself, So, and all it says, I love you. Thank you for listening. Until then, with this kind of calming twinkle toe music, see you guys later. Take it easy, friends, and stay soul.